Suns fans, you know what time it is in the PHX.
Empire of the Suns.
Phoenix Suns.
Empire of the Suns.
Hello there, and welcome to the Empire of the Suns podcast. My name is Kellan Olson. I'm joined, as always, by Kevin Zimmerman. What up, man?
Howdy. It is the podcast. The big one. Well, we just did the big one last time. Other big one.
So we haven't necessarily been itching for months to talk about Kevin Durant and trade destinations and such. And I don't say that in a way where we're like dreading having this conversation. We're very excited to have this conversation. But the reason we're excited is because we've like laid off for months, and it's like come up here and there, and we've mentioned it with little nibbles here and there on the podcast. By the way, shout out to the multiple people reaching out to me. Somebody even Instagram DM'd me about Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
Thank you for the replies and listening all the way to the terrible disaster.
I was going to say, don't even mention the context. Just say it and say if you don't know, you won't know. And that's it. Yeah. But you just spoiled it. That was pretty messed up, man.
Okay.
We're going to talk KD. We're going to talk about trade destinations. We're going to get really in-depth on why we think Jeremy Sohan's going to have a bounce-back year next year. We're going to get into like all this kind of stuff, really break down the packages. The reason in which we're doing so is... well, we were going to do this anyway. It's around that time. I think you and I both expect this to not get done until draft week. My prediction is Monday night. We'll see. That's where I stand. I think this is going to be something that's drawn out. I will say, in terms of like relevant news and notes from today, Jaylen Brown undergoing a procedure on his knee. He's supposed to be good for the regular season, but Darius Garland is not going to be ready for the start of the season. And by all accounts, no one is willing to report that Giannis Antetokounmpo is not getting traded, but everyone is reporting, yeah, it doesn't sound like he's getting traded. Like there's no momentum there at all. So with all of that said, it is a Kevin Durant summer for now. Boston is still expected to do something major because they can either try and still contend, but probably not do much with a hyper expensive roster, or they'll get cheaper. And by getting cheaper, they'll get worse.
Dip
so that
below
is
that apron once, and
So does that include trading Jaylen Brown? It gets more difficult to do now. I don't think trading Derek White or Kristaps Porzingis or the both of them or whatever or Drew Holiday is enough to usurp a Kevin Durant trade. So with all of that said, I think that is where we start, is that it seems like the Suns are back in control of this. Again, all it takes is a notification later tonight that Giannis is available to get traded.
Yeah.
And then it's the summer of Giannis instead. For now, that is where we stand. ESPN Shams Charania reported his latest information today. I'll put it as, just as a brief aside, you know that I get very annoyed at what fans have to deal with on their behalf. Some of you guys completely, and I'll include myself, like I'm a basketball fan, of course, but I'm coming from a different lens as a media member. But I will say some of you guys love this stuff, nibble at every single little update that you can possibly get. And I think some of you grow fatigued by this and just like, what is news? What isn't news? And this is an example where
Shams every 2 months has said this.
A disclaimer.
Yeah.
I completely respect what insiders do.
Yeah.
I do not choose to partake to remain completely objective. There's a couple of other reasons. One of them is I just don't have that dog in me. I really don't. To like keep these relationships going and like work around the clock like that. And like I already get nervous enough when my phone goes off in general. I can't imagine if it was like part of my life every single minute of every single day. I've seen how it wears on someone like Gambo up close, which has made me even more not want to do it. But objectivity, that kind of stuff, sure. But I immensely respect what they do.
Yes.
So I also laugh at it. I can also be amused by it, and I think that's okay. And this is just the type of update where Shams says the two sides are expected to work together on potential destinations, and that is such a loaded 11 words. It's very loaded.
Expected.
Yes, they're expected to work together, but will they work together? Will the Suns just not try and do what's best for them? There's a lot there. As you said, this has mainly just been the news that has been out there. There's also an NBA Finals game tonight that ESPN is going to be covering all day, and Shams is going to be on all the shows all day with his latest information, which is this, that Kevin Durant's business partner, Rich Kleiman, CEO of Boardroom, by the way, included in there. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
Met multiple times over the past week. They're sifting through trade scenarios, the 5 teams to come up. Houston, San Antonio, Miami, Minnesota, New York. Hold on a second, though, Kev. Several wild card suitors have made inquiries in the past 7 to 10 days as well. Again, that is where the age of information and like what can you give away, what can you not? Apparently, these teams do not want to be named because that is why they are not being named.
I'm just stuck on like, does Shams have boardroom stock or something? Like, is this insider trade? Anyway, continue.
Teams around the NBA have been anticipating Durant would be traded ever since the Suns engaged in trade talks around the February trade deadline. Yes.
Yep.
Durant's contract, which is an expiring contract for next year that can have 2 more years added to it, is expected to play a factor in these negotiations. Yes.
Yeah.
One other nugget was that these talks are expected to escalate before the NBA draft later this month.
Yeah.
Yes. We're using this as a vessel, if you will, to really open up the conversation. I don't think there's anything reactionary inside of what he was reporting. If you haven't been listening to Burns and Gambo every day, shame on you, because Gambo's been dropping nuggets pretty much every day on the Suns, on this kind of stuff. He has reached an aggregation level that I am proud of, where not only Kev is he getting aggregated, but he's getting video aggregated now. And that must make you really excited now to see all that hard-earned cash we put into these cameras
posted by other people
and not getting views yourself instead.
Have you seen what podcast is it? The meme was, do you know who Gambo is? What's a game?
It's great.
Yeah.
Gambo's been dropping a lot, including the Spurs, and taking them seriously. He dropped the Los Angeles Clippers a couple days ago as a team to watch out for. Do you want to start with... That was a long intro by me, by the way. I apologize.
You're okay.
A lot of yapping to set the scene, as I always tend to do on this podcast. I guess listeners know the drill.
Yeah. I'm here. I'm like the white bread. You're like the peanut butter jelly. I'm the white bread to the...
It's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. It is way too nice of a compliment. Do you want to just start like hypothetically? Kind of not hypothetically. Zooming out, like macro, micro, whatever. Like what? Okay. First of all, we'll breeze by this. They should trade Kevin Durant, right? There are people who still believe they shouldn't. They should trade Kevin Durant.
Do you want to lose with Kevin Durant, or do you want to lose without Kevin Durant and possibly win sooner?
Yeah, lose him for nothing, and in that case, you would see out 1 more year with him, maybe 3. But we've seen what that already looks like, and it's just going to be a worse version of that.
Matt Ishbia money is not infinite. By the way, I looked at his Forbes profile. He lost $2 billion worth since December or something. Anyway, I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but big picture. All right,
you're dropping all sorts of stuff over there. Insider trading, Forbes.
Here's the thing.
We want Mr. Market Man over here.
We want KD. Most people rightly want KD traded so the Suns can go about resetting this thing.
Because this is their only tool to do so.
Only way, only avenue, only way to get under cap and all the flexibility rules, second apron stuff. But, okay, where do you want to go? Because my big thing is, people are saying, well, why are they working together with Kevin Durant to trade him? To me, it's super important, and you might disagree, that they find him a place that wants to sign him to that extension.
100%.
Because if not, then it's not about
Dimes
making KD happy.
Nickels, basically, in your return.
The return is going to be awful if he's going into a contract year and that team's not sure if he'll stick around or even wants to be there. So you want to work with him. So I think that's one thing to put out there. Like Charles Barkley was on Bickley and Marotti yesterday and was like, they shouldn't try to make KD happy, but there's a lot of reasons why they need to try.
Yes, and this is me not acting like I'm speaking for the man at all, but in being around him and watching his career, he does not seem like the type of guy that would hang this over a team's head.
No.
And the new team, I would say, for sure. And even Phoenix, I don't think he would do that necessarily. That's the type of thing that you have to worry about with other types of stars and superstars and egos and all that kind of stuff. He is not that type of guy, I think. So that layer out of the way.
Yeah.
The question becomes, and something that I've talked about a bit, but we can really branch out on now, is what do you want in a Kevin Durant trade? Because the answer is not everything. It has been a belabored point that you're not going to get what you gave up, obviously, because what you gave up was pretty much everything you're looking for here, and you're only going to get one of those pieces. You're only going to get a good amount of draft capital. You're only going to get a good amount of quality rotation players that are ready right now. You're only going to get a certain quality of good to decent to okay players that have upside to be far more, that are young and have some of the traits that you're looking for. So you got to decide. And the way that you and I talked about this, you can read it on arizonasports.com right now. Is it going up?
Not yet. I was going to try to pair this, but I might just push publish.
You can pair it.
Okay.
You can pair it. I mean, if you pair it, they won't, like, this 2 hours doesn't exist, you know? Like, they don't even know about these 2 hours that exist. What happens to those 2 hours in their world? We're going a little matrixy there for a second. So I think you can split some of these teams off. To me, there is the young haul. There's the go for youth, and that is Houston. That is San Antonio if you get another pick. And I think maybe that's Toronto, but I would loop Toronto more into the pivot and reload, which is, I think, what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Like, my prediction.
Yeah.
No sources. We just covered that. I don't know nothing. I know as much as you guys know. Which, if you guys have been paying attention, you know a lot. If you just kind of pay attention to what's going on. I don't think it's going to be Houston. I don't think it's going to be San Antonio.
Okay. Interesting.
Because those two teams do not offer the type of turnaround in a year that they're looking for. Am I saying the Suns are looking to turn this around in a year and win 52 games and make the conference finals? No. But they're looking to field a quality, competitive basketball team next year. And I don't think that's possible with the Houston trade, with all due respect to those players. I don't think it's possible with the San Antonio trade. Now, in a world where I think this is more fantasy land, if you can flip Jalen Green, if you can flip Devin Vassell, sure.
Yeah.
But redundancy does exist here, and that it would be redundancy with the best player you're getting back in these deals, playing the same position as your guy, doing the same stuff, but far worse. Far, 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 far worse.
And by the way, the Bradley Beal thing does not seem like it's going to be resolved, possibly.
He might be back next year. Now, he might be back just watching the games at home, but he might be back next year. Yeah. So that's 3 of those guys now. So that takes those two teams out. The Knicks were mentioned. The great Stephon Bondy, who does excellent work for the New York Post covering the Knicks, reporting that the Knicks are out of it.
Yeah.
They're out of the Durant thing, and I think this is a case where both of these reports are right, that they briefly talked. Towns, no thank you. How about Mikal? No, we're not giving him up. We just gave up 5 first-round picks for him. No. How about OG? No, he's like he's maybe our second or third best player right now. No. What about this in Mitchell Robinson? No, he never is healthy. No. What about this in Deuce McBride? And, we don't have any picks. And I think that was the extent of the conversation, and it just didn't match up for them. So I don't think it's going to be one of those two teams. I think that it will be something like Minnesota, I think Minnesota, if I had to pick a team, it would be Minnesota.
Okay.
I think it's going to be either like Minnesota or Toronto, or maybe it's some other random team like the Clippers, who recently got engaged in this cycle of news, or a new one emerges. What about Dallas? What about Orlando? Are there any other big brain teams like Detroit that we're not necessarily thinking of, where they can offer you 2 to 3 rotation players, a pick, and you can get rolling? Because I think that if you get Norman Powell, Dunn, Derrick Jones Jr., you're going to be a much better basketball team than you would be with Jabari Smith and Jalen Green, or Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, and Jeremy Sohan. Like, you're just going to be a much better team.
Give me Nick Batum to creakily walk around and play decent-ish defense.
I really do not think trading for Julius Randle is a good idea as like the centerpiece of it, but he is a very good basketball player. And in terms of the second best player on the Suns next year, he would be far and away the best guy you could possibly get.
Yeah.
Toronto, as you noted in the story, RJ Barrett had a really good year. I still think it's kind of just like he is who he is at this point in his career. But Jakob Poeltl is solid. Mm-hmm. If you get one more of those Toronto guys who's like a solid 7th, 8th, 9th man that is now like the 5th or 6th man on Phoenix, but still helps you in that kind of way, and you can get a pick from them, then I think you're in some sort of business, the business that they want to be in.
I will say that there is a chance, and I probably should have gone roster by roster and looked, but there's a chance that you bring in a third team in all this, and then suddenly San Antonio or Houston look a lot better because, like, you get a couple role players out of them, but the main piece, a good starting caliber player, is coming from a third team or something like that. And to me, that's the big thing in this is if you do really want to compete next year, the best player has to be better than, again, like Jalen Green, maybe, but he's redundant. RJ Barrett, redundant. Like,
you need room for them to grow.
Yeah.
And you just don't have him and Vassell do not have room. Even Barrett, I don't think has room.
Yeah. And like, okay, look, if it's just a 2-team trade, like Jakob Poeltl and like Zubats, but Zubats being traded in this doesn't make sense because they would just have 0 big. Like, so I just don't understand how it's going to work great with any one of these teams that we have on the radar. Now, again, I think there's third team possibilities, and that would obviously have to do with desires elsewhere that we aren't thinking of in this scenario. But that's the big thing is, like, what's the key piece that you get? Like, name me one key piece. If you told me Vassell, that's obviously like, man, that's a 7th man on a good team. If you told me it's the number 9 pick, who's in that range? Do you get, like, is Jeremiah Fears like a young point guard? Like, that's a future starting point guard, but that's not going to pivot and reload you.
Is Thomas Sorber, Derek Queen your center of the future? Like, we're speaking first from what we believe they're thinking, because that's more important than what we think.
Right.
In this case, I believe that's unfortunate because I think there is a pathway there, but I don't think they're going to explore it. Do you want to talk about that pathway a little bit?
I just want to end before we explore it on, like, I don't see an easy pivot and reload, and that's where this new front office...
If you were in the East?
Yeah.
You're not in the East.
You're not in the East.
No.
But that's where this new front office is, like, they're trying to thread a needle, and I just don't see it right now.
Let's branch that off. Let's say let's say you get Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and Terrence Shannon.
Yeah.
And let's say they even throw in 17. Like, let's say you get, like, that kind of haul.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're getting Jaden McDaniels. I think they love Jaden McDaniels.
They should.
I think it would be awesome if they got Jaden McDaniels, but let's run through. So your starting lineup is point guard. Don't know who that is. Devin Booker. Maybe the point guard is Dante DiVincenzo. I don't know. Let's just say
there's Walter Clayton Jr. You reach with him at 17. He plays point.
Let's say Dante's starting.
Okay.
Dante, Booker.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Is Beal back?
Ryan Dunn? He's not.
Okay.
Ryan Dunn?
Probably.
Julius Randle.
Yeah.
Let's say Sorber's there at 17. And you get, again, this is best case scenario, or you take Danny Wolf or whatever. Like, I'll give you, like, a talented starting caliber center.
Okay.
Like, can quickly become a starting caliber center, that kind of, like, talent you're getting.
Okay.
We'll have more on those guys next week. Sidebar.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about this draft class. I don't think it's good, but it's really fun. Like, there's just a bunch of... It's not just 3-and-D and this kind of big man and point guard who shoots too much. Like, it's a bunch of different stuff. It's really cool.
I'll throw out a name in a sec, but continue.
Sorber at center.
Yeah.
And then we got Royce and Grayson off the bench.
Yeah.
Oso off the bench. Nick Richards off the bench. Is that team... That team is not better than Oklahoma City.
Do they still have pick 29?
Yeah. I'll give you Walter Clayton there. There's your backup point guard.
Yeah. Or the other name that I started watching film on because he was in the ESPN mock draft was Rasheer Fleming. Is he on your...
You're about to read some words about Rasheer Fleming.
Good. I have not looked at your stuff. Yeah, okay. Good.
Is that team, again, we got it in our head, that is, in our opinion, the best case scenario for a Kevin Durant trade with what they're looking for. And, like, the pivot and reload. Is that team better than OKC?
No.
Houston?
No.
The Lakers?
No.
The Nuggets?
No.
The Clippers?
No.
The Timberwolves?
No.
The Warriors?
I forgot what we're at, but no.
The Mavericks?
Maybe?
Okay, I'm at 7 locks so far. Memphis?
No.
8. Sacramento?
Probably not.
Portland,
Sure, I'll give him that.
San Antonio,
No,
New Orleans.
I don't know.
So we could for sure say that they would be better than Portland and Utah, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. I'm giving you third-team All-NBA Julius Randle in that equation, by the way.
That's a pretty decent team.
Best case scenario, they
on-
win 43 games and they're the 9 seed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's competitive.
And then
though.
and then the future is
I would put up that team, and if you get some good vibes from Jordan Knott, like that could be a competitive team.
the future would hinge on, and again, this is the best case scenario where we believe that they're getting 17 somehow. We believe they're getting Terrence Shannon Jr. somehow. So now you've got like Sorber, Shannon, Clayton, Dunn. You actually have younger pieces. Dante's not in his 30s yet.
Rasheer Fleming when you still have the 29 pick. Oh, you said Clayton. That's fine.
Yeah. Clayton's fine.
Hey, you could re-sign Tyus Jones. I know Suns fans.
I need to not get excited about the guys that get drafted out because a lot of them are super fun and would just be rad to watch for a year, and then they're just going to take like a guy.
Just
Thought exercise executed.
Yeah.
It would take a lot, and I don't think they're getting that much in the trade, to be clear. I don't even know if they would give up Julius Randle and Dante in the trade. Like, they might just say Randle and Conley, here you go.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if they'll give you Rob Dillingham in the
No,
deal.
they shouldn't. If they like him that much.
Okay. So, you and I wholeheartedly believe that is not the way to go. Instead, you go the other direction, which is you accumulate as much young talent as possible, and you just see how the next 2 years go.
Roll it out.
You just see how the next 2 years go. You signed Book to the extension this summer, obviously.
Yes, that.
And
Here's the thing, though.
Go
Like,
ahead.
I would be super fascinated to see if Book is just surrounded by, like, if Ryan Dunn and Oso are the guys like, we got to go now, we got to step up now, and you just give him that year and you have a couple rookies to roll it out and see what happens. Now, obviously, like, Book can't do everything himself, so you would need just the structure, whether that's your coaching staff or you get some veterans who are just like, okay, like, we're just going to run on teams, play really hard, and make mistakes, and then next year we're going to be a lot better. And maybe we have money to spend and trades to flip and that kind of thing.
Guess what's gone?
Yeah.
The Beal contract.
So that's the ideal scenario where it's like,
it's on expiring.
Why would you wait?
It's on expiring. It becomes easier to deal.
So you're saying don't spin the wheels trying to compete and float in the 9, 10, 8.
Well, Book's extension is a huge part of this.
Yeah.
And like if they somehow screw up to that degree and don't sign him to that, holy Toledo. For some reason that I can't even begin to think of why you wouldn't do that. But in the event that they do, he would then have 5 years left on his contract. So again, even if you try this for 2 years, it doesn't work, Jordan Knott's not the guy, this draft pick failed, whatever, you can still trade him with 3 years left on his contract.
Yeah.
And you can get a ton. He is not going to look, is Book a top 10 player in the league right now? It's hard to make that claim after the way he's looked the last 2 years and like the standard that we hold him to, what we know he's capable of, yada yada, the whole song and dance. We'll have that song. You'll hear that song and you'll see us dancing a lot over the next 2 years, we believe. Is he going to be at worst? He's still a top 25 player in the league 2 years from now. At absolute worst, and you're still getting a whole lot for him.
Yeah.
In that case, are you getting less than you would right now? Yes, but are you? It's like 1 first-round pick. It's like this level of all-star caliber player to whatever. You know, like you're going from Trey Murphy to Yves Missi in New Orleans. You know what I mean? Like you're still doing fine. So I think that attempt is worth it. And again, something we're going to go into a lot more in the summer. I have a column that's ready to click publish whenever this whole stuff is done, which is just basically like this whole thing and the whole idea of like trading Devin Booker or not is just like if you believe in him or not.
Yeah.
I believe in him.
All indications.
You believe in him.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people listening believe in him. I think there's a good amount of people listening that do not believe in him anymore and are
That's
ready
true.
to cut bait. And there are some people listening who say that doesn't matter. You should just trade him anyway. Even if I think he's this good, the Suns will still screw it up anyway, whatever, which is totally justified. We are not here
That's
to
not how the Suns can operate, obviously.
gaslight you
Yeah.
any further. So let's go the other route and look at some of those other teams. I think it's worth noting, by the way, Miami has come up.
Yeah.
It's the same poo-poo platter they've tried to offer 7 different all-stars and have never gotten him. They're not getting this one either. The only way that a team in Phoenix's position would accept an offer from Miami is if they are only motivated to save money. That's it.
Yeah.
Because Terry Rozier is on an expiring, Duncan Robinson is on an expiring, and then you can get Nikola Jovic and Jaime Jaquez Jr., who regressed in his second year. And like, you're not even getting Khalil Ware, which is crazy, but like you're just not getting Khalil Ware.
Yeah.
And all of their picks are 2030, 2032.
No.
And we know that does not motivate the front office. Guess what? It doesn't motivate me either. The draft pick return I would want is now. I want it right now.
No, this year even. I don't even want next year.
No,
I mean, if you want to throw it in there, okay.
If I'm picking between a second round pick this year and next year, I'm taking this year. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Have 4 or 5 rookies on the team for all I care. I don't think it's really going to matter too much.
if you're, that's where the front office and coaching stuff. If you believe in these guys, you better believe that they can develop and be like, that guy is not that good right now, but I know he will work hard. I know he will fit. I know he has the skills that translate right now that will get him on the floor to survive. And then they have to, like, Ryan Dunn, you got to learn to shoot next year, bud. Like, that's a good example. Oh, so you got to do a little more
Finish
and
at the
maybe
rim.
shoot.
Got to finish at the rim.
Finish it.
Draw some free throws.
Yeah.
So all of that together with Miami, the Clippers are the same way. So again, you would not be getting draft pick capital now. You would be getting draft pick capital later on in the future, the most valuable stuff, at least. And there's New York was a team like that, as well. Houston and San Antonio are not. A team that I mentioned before is Atlanta. There's a really fun, like, should they just trade him for Trae Young if they would do that conversation. We'll skip that. But they're more of like a, where do they think their team is? What do they want to, how do they feel about all their young players? Because you would need, they're not giving you Jalen Johnson. I don't think they're giving up Reese Shea, even if it was like a fake number 1 pick of sorts situation. Can you get some of their ancillary pieces that are still, like, are they giving up Dyson Daniels after the season he gave up?
Dyson Daniels,
can Okongwu be the best player in the deal? I don't think he can.
He can't be.
So I don't think they're really a fit necessarily. But with what we're talking about specifically, it comes down to Houston and San Antonio. And the core thought here is Sam Cooper, who's appeared on the pod a couple of times, had a tweet that was along the lines of something that I had wrote like 6 weeks ago, which is the hardest thing to do in the NBA right now is pay guys on their second contract.
Yeah.
Because you could sometimes just give the Patrick Williams deal and you're screwed. Or you can give some version of like this Jalen Green, Devin Vassell thing where Jalen Green very intentionally did not get. Teams just roll their eyes and go, fine, we'll give you the 4-year max, whatever, the 5-year max, whatever. They did not do that with Jalen Green. They were like, no, we're giving you 3 for 33 or 35 a year, 30 a year. We're not doing this. San Antonio did that with Vassell. They gave him 5 for 145 and said, okay, you're our guy. Green and Vassell have both had different points in the last 2 to 3 years where they have looked like future All-Stars. They have had different points when they have not looked like future All-Stars, and they just look like guys.
Yeah.
And the main return in this piece cannot be guys, so then the main return needs to be draft pick capital. But my point here is teams like Houston and San Antonio are specifically looking for, and maybe they're not being this aggressive, but they know in the back of their head, okay, like Wemby's extension eventually, Castle's extension eventually. Okay, like what's Vassell's deals at? What's all that stuff? The Fox deal. That's right, I forgot about the Fox deal. It adds up very quickly, and all of a sudden you're paying $29-30 million a year for your 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th best player.
Yeah.
However you feel about Devin Vassell, you cannot sit here and say that he was better than De'Aaron Fox last year, better than Victor Wembanyama last year, or better than Stephon Castle last year. You can even argue like Chris Paul was better than him.
Yeah.
Last year, Harrison Barnes was better than him.
Yeah.
Last year, like he wasn't even one of the 5 best players on his team last year, in my opinion. So better basketball relative term. I'm saying impacting winning. Like Harrison
Yeah.
Barnes did more to impact winning than Vassell did. He was also hurt for some portion. He's been hurt a lot, more than you would think. So that is the opportunity that the Suns are giving you. It's not so much trading for Kevin Durant. It is, you have this problem. You got all this money coming up. Houston especially is the one that I wrote about, where they've got the Thompson deal. They already signed the Sengun deal. They've got to get Eason, Smith together. That's a situation for them specifically where, here, we'll take the Jalen Green thing. You don't want to figure out how much you should pay Jabari Smith. We'll do that for you, but we'll take this on. We understand it's part of the deal, but we need to be compensated for, by the way, giving you a top 10 player in the league, but also getting you off of this. Like, I don't think those two guys are negative assets, to be clear, but they're a lot closer to the middle than people think. Like, I really do believe that. Sohan is another thing. Like, what do you pay him? He's an extremely good defensive player.
Limited.
He filled the gaps pretty well for them last year, but he's limited, and he can't shoot. And they tried him at point guard, then they tried him at backup center, and it's been all over the place. That makes you feel better about his development long term. But if I'm talking this long, it doesn't mean that they're a surefire thing.
No.
So that is what you are offering them. And the big unknown for me, and where I think ultimately the Suns will come up short, and I'm hoping for their sake, because of Giannis, because of everything else, they're going to be able to dictate things and negotiate things and compare offers a little bit better, is, you can get 10 from Houston. And you can get another first rounder from Houston. Or you can get 14 from San Antonio. You can't get Castle or number 2 or anything like that. Don't be crazy. But you can they have, I think, 17 second rounders that they can deal. It's some crazy number. Like, they can give you 7 of those. Like, they can just throw you a bunch of seconds, and like, you guys screwed up your second round distribution and all that stuff with the Bradley Beal trade, trading all of them and losing them for signing Drew Eubanks, whatever, dumping campaigns, tax money. Here you go. Here's 6 or 7 of these, and you guys now have some to trade, to draft with, whatever. Like, can you get that? Can you get a swap with Atlanta in 2026? Can you get Atlanta's own pick in 2027? Like,
Can we do an exercise, and you have to Google for me because you have a computer out?
Sure.
What did the Suns trade Steph Marbury and Penny Hardaway to the Knicks for in, 03?
Really relying on
Very
a
literal
2004 headline here is crazy. They acquired from Phoenix for Antonio McDyess, coming back, Howard Isley, Charlie Ward, the man, Magic Lampe. Who could forget him? Top 10 pick, baby. The rights to Milos Vujanic.
Vujicic. Yeah. Never
2
came
first-round
over.
picks and cash.
2 first-round picks and cash.
2 of them suckers.
So, like,
Tough look for ESPN's 21-year-old story that Magic Lampe's hyperlink is Carl Herrera, and that is not Magic Lampe.
What?
That's tough.
Oh man. Anyway,
forget Carl
my
Herrera?
brain went there.
That's crazy.
That's a really extreme example where the Knicks are taking on those contracts.
Yeah.
They were better players than like the Jalen Green. Well, not Penny that at that point. It was Penny, right? Was it the same
Marbury
deal?
and Penny.
Yeah, that's crazy. They traded both those guys at once.
Cesare Trebansky as well.
It was a Trebansky for a Lampe trade, basically, at the end of the day.
That's what you would have been tweeting in 04 if Twitter was
Twitter
around.
existed.
That's what you would have been yapping.
Man,
about.
that was a salary dump, but the point there is like that freed the Suns to go get Steve Nash. And I don't know if you could figure out even who they use those first round picks on in the future years. But like, look, Vujicic, or I forgot how to say his name because I can't see it in my head. Vujanic did not come over ever. And that was kind of like, maybe you can convince him and he's your point guard, and didn't happen. Lampe didn't pan out as
There's
much
like
as dear
listeners
Lord.
that are like, Kevin is spitting so much fire right now.
I really wanted him to pan out, but obviously, like Howard Isley was there for even half that season, right?
Lampe was the big one, right? Because he was a top 10 pick.
Yeah, like he was the big piece after the 2 draft picks. So basically, that's the goal. There was to just,
and then it can turn out like that.
You got to draft well, and those are your assets, and you're giving a starting point guard who's an all-star caliber guy to that team. And this is Kevin Durant we're talking about in 2025. So I just think like that's how fans have to view this whole thing, is like those assets. It doesn't remain. It's not clear when it happens. When this trade happens, it's going to look like it sucks, I think. Right? Like, I think the best player coming back is not going to be good, and it will not be a super appealing, 9-10 pick this year. But that's the reality of you've got to hit on that, and then that could change your franchise's trajectory.
I haven't gotten to this part.
Yeah.
You know what's going to suck? The 3 days of watching people react to what they get for Durant.
Yeah.
Because a lot of fans, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but it's just going to be like bracing for impact like a lot of us have been for the last couple of weeks and months, and knowing probably what you're going to get for Durant, probably what makes the most sense for Durant. A lot of it, every single radio show, the night after, the day after, whatever, are going to talk about, was this even worth it? Would you rather just run it back with Kevin if this was the return that you're getting? That's how some people are going to feel, and I totally understand that. It's Kevin freaking Durant. You don't have to remind me. But you're spot on, is that now it just comes down to drafting well and developing well, which is where hiring Jordan Ott as your coach, having Brian Gregory and his limited player development background, as opposed to Ott's, still helps you out. But no, and also the other thing that is tricky about this is you can't just look at this and say, like, okay, Derek Queen has to be an all-star now, or he has to be an all-NBA center for this trade to be worth it. And it's like, well, that's not necessary. It has to be a combination of the assets coming together.
You can't expect that either. Yeah.
But I will say that I think there are people listening. I keep referring to you guys like mysteriously or whatever. But I'm trying to like present both sides of the argument here because you and I agree on this. Is that number 9, number 10 cannot be your best asset coming back? Cannot be a pick. It needs to be a player, and that's where you and I disagree with that notion and are okay with it being a pick. But you just got to be. You got to be sure, and guess what? The Suns are a professional organization with NBA scouts and stuff. You bet your bottom dollar, you bet your ass that they've been looking up Thomas Sorber clips before he injured his foot in mid-February. Like, they've been watching Malawatch in case he'll fall there. They've been watching Concanipple in case he falls there. They were in Tucson watching Carter Bryant. Like, they are aware of this, and this is not going to be a situation where they trade for these guys, and now it's like, oh, they haven't worked out or interviewed any of these guys. They're well prepared for this sort of instance coming. They know about the potential peril that comes with an Agor Demon pick.
Risk.
Might want to call your old bud KY and be like, hey, pal, how's
Sorry
it going?
about that job offer that didn't come.
Can you give us the inside scoop on your guy and if he's the real deal or not? I think that's the best way forward. But I think the end point here, if we want to end here, if you have anything else to say, let me know, is... yeah, this is just kind of a bad situation altogether.
Yeah,
it's not really that good. Like, we're
bad.
not sitting here trying to lipstick on the pig.
We're not trying to say Kevin Durant's worth is Jakob Poeltl and a top 10 pick.
Yeah, ideally
that's not what we're saying.
Ideally, there is a way to conceivably look at next year and be like, okay, you got Kevin, you got Book, you got these other pieces, whatever happens with Brad, whatever, you can run it back. Jordan Ott, new, but that was last year. You did it last year. It went even worse. It's time to...
Sometimes it's just time.
Very eloquent of you, sir.
Yeah. Jordan Ott's the coach, huh?
We'll have more on those guys next week. I will say programming note, like next week, the plan, full plan. I can never say this at the beginning of the podcast, by the way. I always wait towards the end. Plan next week, full draft preview, like the whole 9. We'll go into it. I have 29 for 29. There's 5 out. There'll be 5 more, or there'll be 10 more guys within 2 days. And then the final 14 of them coming out later. Just the guys that you should know about. The stories are written in a way where it's not really, my opinion's in there a little bit, but it's more of like, here's everything to know about these guys, and like pick a few favorites because the draft is fun.
Yeah.
And you should just be able to be like, I absolutely
have hope for these Phoenix Suns,
I absolutely love Noah Penda out of France. Like, I think he's going to be...
What did you say? Noah
awesome.
Penda? What?
I don't know. I haven't watched him yet. I don't know.
Okay.
Walter Clayton Jr. There could be people who watch the tournament and be like, I've already gotten a tweet about Walter Clayton Jr. It's like, awesome, yeah. That's what the draft is about. Just find a couple of guys you really love.
Become a fan. And then when he's
that way you can... Exactly. You can come back 5 years later and be like, they should have drafted Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah,
what are you
he's
doing? That was so
well.
obvious. Even like, I love Tyrese Halliburton. Like, that's part of why I love the draft.
Yeah.
So that is what it is designed for. And then next week we'll pod about it. And then the week after, I'll have a piece coming out where it's like my big board, whatever you want to call it, however you can do that with the 29th pick, where it's like, here are the guys that I think makes the most sense for them after going through all of the guys. Obviously, if there is a Kevin Durant trade, part of that will turn into coverage of whatever picks they land and expanding that even further. If there's time for that, but it's basically know that we're coming next week. Mega draft pod, the one that goes 60 to 90, where I mentioned Herb Jones in the 78th minute, or Jamari Bouye. I'm like, God, he'd be sick on a two-way, Kev. He'd be pretty sick on a two-way.
Who was your guy last year? I don't even remember.
Last year?
I don't know. Never mind. Continue.
My guy, like deep, like we're talking like Vince Williams bag guy.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't think I went that far.
Maybe it was 2 years ago who I'm thinking of, and I don't remember. Was it Bouye? I don't know.
It was Bouye.
It was probably him.
It was him. I was super in. The Grant Riller of 2020,
yes,
if you will.
The Grant Riller.
Yeah, of course.
What's he up to?
I hope he's doing great, man, because he was a really fun basketball player, and I hope he's successful wherever he is and has been able to stay healthy, because that was just really sad how his career kind of never even got to get off the ground. So that podcast, if people are looking forward to it, not looking forward to it, whatever, that's coming next week, and then we're waiting for a KD thing. So if it happens tomorrow, we'll be back tomorrow to talk about Kevin Durant, and then we'll do it later. If it happens tonight, we'll be back tonight. If it happens in 2 weeks, we'll be here 2 weeks from now. But we'll have that pre-draft preview next week, and then the week after that, you'll at worst have a podcast that Wednesday night after the first round of the draft. Little teaser. Mm-hmm. You're going to get the zaniest, weirdest Kel that you've ever seen, brother, because I'm doing Burns and Gambo that day, and we might be doing a draft show as well.
Interesting.
So I might be doing, like, I think 6 straight hours of radio.
And then the podcast at midnight or something.
Then writing about the draft. And
then the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've done it before.
You'll
now
survive.
I was younger and more spry.
You'll have energy for the draft.
7 years ago when I wrote the Mikal Bridges column while I was on the air. Like, I don't know if I have that dog in me anymore, but
the dogs have left you. Yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday night, and then we'll have
we'll see on Thursday.
Thursday night, yeah. Like, if they get another second-round pick, I think it might be worth it to come back. But if they get number 52, probably not. But then again, we did that for Tumani Kamara, and look at how that turned out. That guy can play some basketball. What'd you think of Jordan Ott?
Good first impression.
Yeah.
You?
I thought he was more personable and confident than I was expecting.
I like that he attacked the Michigan State question with confidence. That just made me feel good about how he'll deal with bad situations that arise when you're a head coach of a basketball team that's going to get reshuffled. So that made me feel good, just like from the leadership standpoint. No idea if he'll figure out what the roster does, because I don't know what the roster is going to look like.
I had a couple people reach out to me, and by that I just mean friends. I don't mean like an assistant GM somewhere, because some people say that in these places, and they're like, "Oh, like is this a?" Is this
I had a couple of NBA head, six.
What's the new one that they say now? It's NBA evaluators. What do they say? It used to be front office executives. They doubled down on, like, is it a front office person or is it an executive? It's both.
Yeah.
NBA front office executives are telling me.
Yeah.
The chatter around league circles. That's a good
league
one.
Circles.
Yeah.
Leagues. I hate league sources.
These are my Call of Duty Counter-Strike circles. Like, these are just my.
I mean, it's as useful as league circles.
I've had it. That's true.
When people use league circles, it's like the coach of the New York Knicks. They don't have one, but the coach of the New York Knicks cannot be used as a source for what's happening in the Phoenix Suns building.
My buddy's
just guessing.
My buddy's no ball. I had a couple people be like, "Oh, that wasn't great," and I think that a lot of the hesitation and skepticism with him stems from hearing similarities to Gregory, but that was just going to happen.
Gregory happens at every. Yeah.
He was going to hire a player development coach. He was going to hire a player development coach that is heavy on coach speaky, football-y kind of stuff. The piece that I have coming up on the draft, which I'll tease it, I've got the Gregory Grinder All-Stars, Kev. Mm-hmm. 5 guys who they compete, brother. They are the first guy in. They are also the last guy out.
That's a good one, yeah. What else you got?
If they see
in the building all summer
on the floor, let alone a basketball, they'll go grab that loose change and they're going to track down whose it is. They'll make sure that person gets their dollar bill back, their nickel back. They'll do it for a penny, Kev. That's how much character they have.
They're not filming TikToks on the side. They're always in the gym. They're too busy to film the TikToks.
As you can tell, I'm excited for people to read this. It's 5 guys who I believe that they like and are at programs specifically that appeal to a guy who coached for 2 decades in college. I can't even remember why I was bringing this up. It was something that I said in there specifically. It was like football character.
Yeah.
or like they say football
They're
character,
good guys.
and you're like, what does
Good
football
locker room
character mean?
character,
And
yeah.
then they explain that it's all that kind of stuff as well. Like that was going to be present here. Like it was going to be someone who had like we want guys who can work, and then we want to build trust. Like that's just going to happen in all facets of hiring a coach, but especially when your GM is someone who spent 2 decades being a head coach, not even in the NBA, but in the college, where that stuff is like toxic overkill. In my opinion, it's like I was watching a Do Theoro today from Arkansas. See how I did that? Now I'm learning. I'm getting there. He had this awesome like putback dunk, and Calipari is on the floor screaming at someone, and it's like you're clearly not elated about what just happened, but you're mad about like he got an offensive rebound, and like but you're more upset about the guy oh my gosh. As you can tell, watching college basketball the last couple of weeks has worn me down. All of that is to say you just knew that coming in.
Yeah.
But that is with the like, okay, I watched it, we talked to him, and then we talked to him on the side again, and he is clearly a bright basketball mind, all the cliches that you hear about first-time head coaches that were long-time assistants. He's very innovative and present and forward-thinking and all that kind of stuff. He has a lot of potential, I think, and I think he could be a really good head coach just based on this is, again, press conference, talking to him, that's it. What we know about his path and everything. But is he in the right opportunity to fulfill that potential? I don't know. I don't really know because...
Well, could anyone succeed in this situation?
Exactly.
We don't know.
Like he could be the next Eric Spoelstra for all we know. And it's like, okay, are players going to believe that? Are they going to respect him? Like that's number one. Are they going to respect him? Or are they going to see him and hear him say the same thing that Gregory told them in the hallway the other day, the same thing that Ishbia told them while in passing, just the same similar mindset, shared thinking, and those were 2 phrases that came up with his words as well. So again, if you were expecting someone to go up there and just be completely different, like they were never going to hire that guy ever.
No.
There's a reason why Gregory was like he was always our guy because it's similar thinking, and that was always going to be the head coach hire. So it's just on if the players allow this head coach to have that opportunity. Not saying there's a right or a wrong way for them to do it. I understand if they're hesitant about it in general, but that's really what's going to dictate it. It's not even if he's going to be good or bad or has potential or whatever.
I'm more worried about the roster.
That's the other part too, right? Yeah, they need to give him a competent basketball team.
Who would you hire where I'm like, this is going to be a good team next year? I couldn't say that about literally anyone in the earth right now.
I said Minnesota for Kevin to feed everyone here this late in the pod. No Reese's Steven Adams anecdotes here, but where do you think he's going?
I'm going to go and say Toronto because no, I don't know.
I just don't. I feel like Kevin would see that team and that roster and be like, what am I? I think he like.
I think they're sneaky. Their front office is sneaky, and they could sell him.
But I don't think he would be sold. I think that he would look at he'd be like, okay, we've got Ingram and Quickly, and I'm here, and like
I've heard good things about living in Toronto as an NBA player, and I've heard some bad things opposed, like on Jeff Teague's podcast actually.
Like, okay, where does Scotty fit in? Because like Scotty's like he's the future of our franchise. Like who do we have at center? The other guards, like Grady, is he still here? I don't know. Like it just seems like a really weird like step for him to take, where it's like, hey, maybe this East team can be the 4 seed next year. Like I just doesn't make sense. If he goes to Minnesota, they're an immediate contender.
I was just trying to be edgy and different because of the Houston, San Antonio. I'm not trying to
be critical of your choice. I'm
can be critical.
Seeing it. I'm just seeing it out and giving my 2 cents on it. Houston contender.
Yeah.
San Antonio contender.
Yeah.
I'm lower on Wemby than most, but I say that like I think he's never going to make an All-Star team again. It's just like I don't think that he's. I'm waiting a year or 2 before anointing. You know.
Giannis
you know
level.
me. I want to see playoffs. That's it.
Yeah.
Let me just see him perform in the playoffs. Like we keep seeing it in OKC here. Like it's been shaying a bunch of dudes so far. Kind of been shaying a bunch of dudes. So where? Toronto?
Sure.
Sticking with?
Yeah.
We both didn't say Houston or San Antonio, which is interesting.
It just makes too much sense, and
it would kind of be something that he would do though to go to Toronto. I'm more buying your thing. Like great city. Organization that has never reached a certain amount of success.
Okay, I'm not gonna speak for him, but I'm gonna try to get into his mind. From what we know about him as a person, I think to your point very much earlier in this podcast, he would be like, open-minded to anything that happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get behind that for sure.
And, like, obviously, if you're Toronto, for example, trading for Kevin Durant, you better have a good plan.
But you got to be ready when he comes into that plan to be like, what?
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
Very direct, aggressive, and just like, explain this to me. And then he'll ponder.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll get with you, but I don't know. That's going to be I think that's the most fascinating part of this that we're not going to know is like, how far does this get? Does it get to like LeBron? Like, is he a free agent of sorts? Or is it getting to that point of him getting pitched? I don't know. That's going to be interesting. All right. Jeremy's back, which definitely means we should end it, which definitely means we've been going
way too long.
But it's good. It's good that we
Can he hear us in there?
Because we spent an entire 2 regular seasons of basketball being like, how do we get this to 20 minutes? That's why we delayed.
We're here, yeah. I don't think he can hear me because he's staring at
We
the
just
screen.
said the Heat offers trash if he's listening, which I think he would totally agree with and understand at the same time. All right, we'll be back when we're back. See you.